Hello, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'm joined by the Heidenreich to my Undertaker, other Adam from WhatCulture.com. Hello, and also by Lewis, an ex-professional wrestler, also known as the man who hit me repeatedly in the chest. Now, be warned, Lewis is from Newcastle, so he will be quite hard to understand. Lewis, welcome.
How Reed?
Now, here at WhatCulture, we've got a treat for you. We managed to track down the man that gravity forgot, Neville, and which is why Lewis is here, because not only is Lewis from Newcastle, where Neville is from, but also Lewis owns a pinfall victory over Neville, don't you, Lewis? Tell us about it.
Aye, well, basically the thing is, Reed, me and Neville were basically both from the Toon, and we grew up with each other, like scrapping and that. And when I was a wrestler, back in the day, he basically helped train me and that, and we got to wrestling each other. And I basically sparked him clean out, 1, 2, 3, and he was never the same after that. Like so. Right.
Great. Now, we want these phone interviews to become a regular part of WhatCulture content, and we want to start producing podcasts coming soon to WhatCulture.com. So we tasked Adam Pacitti with coming up with a list of podcast ideas. Let's see what he's got.
Adam Pacitti's Beasts of Wrestling, where I fight animals starting at a mouse, then getting bigger each week. Campfire Stories with Gene Snitsky. WhatCulture's Top Vultures, which is just ranking birds. Just me reading Lady Chatterley's Lover with my sultry, relentless voice. The John Cena Tina Arena, where I compare John Cena to Tina Fey on a number of criteria. Adam versus Adams, where each week I fight a new Adam. Adam Levine, Adam Rose, Adam Copeland, Adam Cole, Adam Sandler, Adam West, Adam Scott, Adam Brody. Take them all on. The Pacitti Committee, where I interview members of my family for 2 hours.
Yeah, we're not going to be doing any of those. So without further ado, let's pass over to Kenny Mackintosh, our Scottish correspondent, for his interview with Neville. Take it away.
And I'm Kenny Mackintosh at WhatCulture.com, and I'm joined here today by the man that gravity forgot, the one and only, the UK's own Neville. And you're here with me today back in the UK. It must feel pretty good.
That's right. Hello, Kenny. Thank you for having me. And yes, I'm back home and I'm loving every minute of it.
And what's your kind of favourite part of performing in front of the British crowd?
I think it's just, how loud and passionate they are. It's, the European audiences only get to see us twice a year, so every time we come back round, they're always very starved of the WWE style of entertainment, so they're always, very enthusiastic and very loud, and they're always some of the best crowds we experience throughout all over the world,
Yeah, absolutely. And this week the tickets went on sale for WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, Texas, biggest WrestleMania ever. And we were kind of wondering, WrestleMania is not too far around the corner. Who would be the dream opponent for you at WrestleMania?
That's such a hard question. I think there's so many different options. There's a lot of guys who I've shared a lot of history with coming up in the business. Guys like Sami Zayn, guys like Finn Balor, and even Kevin Owens. Whilst Kevin may not be my favourite of characters, he has certainly been someone who I've got a very extensive history with. So to be able to face someone like that, someone that I know so well on the stage like WrestleMania, it would really be quite surreal and something that I'd love to do. Outside of guys that I share history with, I'd love to face somebody who I hold up to such a high esteem, someone like Rey Mysterio or somebody like that. Somebody who I've very much been influenced myself, and someone who's certainly a role model to me. To be able to face off with someone like Ray at WrestleMania would be huge for me.
Yeah, and I think people would love to see it. You've been on the main roster now for about 7 months, and you actually debuted on the main roster the night after WrestleMania. What was it like to be on the main roster in front of that crowd? Because it's a lot of Europeans in that kind of crowd. It must have felt pretty good to get such a great response when you came out that night.
Oh, absolutely. I was hoping, leading up to WrestleMania, I knew that my debut was imminent, and I was hoping that I would get the opportunity to do it that night, the Monday Night Raw, after WrestleMania, because it does have quite a reputation for being a particularly rowdy Raw and a particularly rowdy audience. I knew that it would be largely European. I knew that would be a large majority of people that go to that Raw who watch NXT and who are aware of the product. So I was hoping I'd get the opportunity to debut on that stage so that, you know, the audience would be familiar with me, and that would certainly give me an advantage right off the bat.
And what would you say? I mean, obviously, the main obvious difference between competing on NXT compared to competing on Raw and pay-per-views would be the bigger audience in the arena, the bigger audience watching at home. But what are the other kind of main differences that you noticed from coming up to the main roster and working those shows as compared to working in NXT?
Well, you know, NXT is awesome, but the main roster is the next step up. You know, I can tell you firsthand that the competition it's on a different level up here. These guys are, you know, guys who are touring 52 weeks a year, five days a week, who are, you know, professionals at what they do, and they're very competent at what they do. So there was a definite jump in the level of competition, jumping from NXT to Raw and to SmackDown.
And Dusty Rhodes is obviously someone that was very influential to you when you were in NXT. You got a chance to work with him. What was it like to work with Dusty, and what was the best piece of advice that he ever gave you when you were there?
You know, I could never really put into words what it was like to work with Dusty. It's hard to express in words exactly what Dusty means to not only me but to all of the kids, as he called us in NXT. He was a real leader, and you know, he could never be replaced. I think the most important thing he taught me was just to have confidence and to be confident in myself. And certainly, arriving in NXT was a brand new universe for me, and it was certainly a universe that maybe I wasn't so used to. The kind of entertainment side, the promo side of things, I wasn't as used to that because my background was more in Japan and more in the Indies. So he was somebody who just told me, you know, that I can do it, and give me the confidence to do it. And you know, that meant more to me than any sort of teaching me any sort of technique or the specifics, you know. Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking of NXT, obviously, you know, you were the NXT champion for so long, and you had such a big part in building it to what it became. When did you kind of realise that NXT was becoming such a phenomenon that it's become today? Was there like a pinpoint moment for you where you realised that it was, you know, this is something really special?
Yeah, I don't think that was a moment. There was a period where we just were, you know, collecting steam and really getting a lot of momentum behind us, and you know, things were just falling into place. You know, it started when you know, we started going to Full Sail and producing the television show to Full Sail, and started to get quite a good reputation amongst fans, you know, online and on the internet and stuff. And then we did our first live special on the network, which was a huge, you know, that was a huge pivotal moment for NXT, for the brand. So that would be also a moment, you know, where we kind of took a step back and could see NXT blowing up. And then, you know, from that point onwards, it's just been collecting so much momentum and doing so well that I think it's kind of exceeded anything anybody expected out of the brand. And I think, you know, that speaks to the quality of the product itself, which, you know, I was very proud to be a part of. And now that I'm not a part of it, there's part of me that misses it, you know.
Mm-hmm. And one of our colleagues here at WhatCulture, Adam, couldn't be here today, but he wanted me to send a question in for you, and he was wanting to ask you about, in all the promotions that you've wrestled, who would you consider your perfect in-ring opponent, the guy that you shared the most chemistry with, I guess the flair to your Steamboat?
Again, that's such a hard question. I feel like, you know, I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to face off with some of the very best talents this business has to offer during my career. So it's hard to single out just one. I mentioned earlier that I had a little bit of history with Finn Balor from NXT. We had in New Japan we had a best of the Super Juniors match that I was very proud of, and that was very much just a case of, you know, we never really locked horns before, and we just got in there and had an instant chemistry, and that's certainly a memorable chemistry to me, and it's one that we've been able to replicate on NXT, and you know, hope we could do it again in the main roster. So Finn is certainly somebody who I feel I share chemistry with. Sami Zayn is another notable performer who I feel, we just have a natural connection with, and we bring out the very best in each other. And I hope that comes through in the matches that we have.
And obviously we would be amiss to not bring up Seth Rollins, who sadly has obviously been injured this week and he's going to be out of action for a while. Talk to us a little bit quickly about Seth and what it's been like to work with him, and because he was one of your first matches in the main roster. You had that great match with him at the beginning of your time in the main roster. What is it like to work with Seth, and how much of a loss is it going to be for him not being around for 6 to 9 months?
Yeah, obviously Seth is a phenomenal talent, and we've all got to see his meteoric rise firsthand. And he's one of the most hardest working, talented individuals that I've ever met. So obviously he's going to be a huge miss. But I feel fortunate to have had the chance to get in there and mix it up with him. And he's another person who is one of the very best that I've been in there with, and brings out the best in me. So. I feel lucky enough to have had the chance. It's obviously hugely disappointing what's happened, but that's the nature of our business, and I'm sure he'll bounce back. And when he does, I'd love to have another shot at him.
And just as we finish off here, I just want to ask you about working with Vince McMahon. What that has been like for you as an experience so far.
I think the main thing that has been is surreal. His reputation certainly precedes him, and he's a huge personality backstage, and it's just strange for me to have regular everyday conversations with Vince McMahon, the guy who kind of rules the industry. So it is strange, but I've got nothing but positive things to say regarding my interactions with Vince. He's always been very encouraging, and helped me a lot with advice along the way.
And just the last thing I wanted to ask you before you go is what some of our listeners might not be aware of is that you have a checkered history with one of my colleagues, one of the editors here at WhatCulture, Lewis House, and he actually wrestled you in the past. So how does it feel to have been pinned by one of the WhatCulture editors?
Well, I know Lewis very well, and he's a real tinker. And I remember that night that he did pin me. And you can send a message to Lewis, and you can let him know that he got extremely lucky. And that if we ever did lock horns again in any field, whether it be pro wrestling or whether it be soccer, football, or anything, his ass is mine, and I'm going to get retribution for that one fluke win.
The gauntlet has been set down. Thanks very much, man. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for taking the time.
No bother. Thank you, Kenny.
Take care. Bye.